Hello and welcome everyone to Mastering 510K, how to streamline your FDA submissions digitally, from presented by Medtech Leading Voice with Yujan Shrestha, our guest speaker today. Before we get started and while everyone is still joining, I would like to take a minute to just say some housekeeping notes. Housekeeping notes. Use the chat vigorously. We want to hear from you during the event. We're going to be posting some links and some other stuff in there. We're also going to ask a couple unofficial poll questions, which you should use the chat for. And if you have questions, use the QA button. This webinar will be recorded. The webinar will be made available to everyone who attended. I assume that the slides will be available as well. Slides, you, John?
Sure. If you want the slides, I'll be happy to give you the slides.
Okay, happy to send the slides. And let's see. I am going to take a moment to ask you, John, a couple questions. And I want to start out with, tell us who you are, where you're from, you know,
Sure.
let's start there.
So my name is Yujan Shrestha. I live in Denver, Colorado with my wife, and also I have a 1-year-old son here, which kind of keeps me busy on the nights and weekends, which I hope to get more of back. But my background is in biomedical engineering that I did undergrad, and then I went to med school. And somewhere around the time between third and fourth year, I decided that software development, I didn't know at the time, but software development and also helping clients get past FDA, that would be the way that I would practice medicine. So that was about 12 years ago. Kind of starting to show my age, actually. My birthday was yesterday. Um, and that kind of shows your age once you turn a certain past a certain point. But yeah, and I'm also joined with my team. They're an excellent group of individuals. We've got 18 full-time folks on our team. A lot of them are software engineers and also regulatory consultants too. Software engineers are regulatory savvy. Our regulatory consultants are software savvy, and we help our clients both build their software and also get FDA cleared. Um, Thanks, Cooper. But yeah, that's about me.
So I'm
Nice to
going to
meet
ask
everybody.
the participants to say where they're joining from just so that we get an idea. And while they're doing that, I would like to frame the problem by asking you, John, can you start out by telling us the problem that your company set out to solve? Because this is really going to frame the conversation for the people that are joining today.
Sure. Yeah, the problem that we set out to solve was actually our own problem. So we didn't actually set out to solve any problem. It was just pains that we faced as a software and also regulatory a consult services company. We had to deliver on our clients, right? And we had clients that wanted it done tomorrow and wanted it done for very little cost, and they wanted it high quality, right? So we had to adapt and come up with tools and process and templates of our own in order to satisfy that need. So when we set out with what I'm calling Medtech OS, this was an internal tool that we'd been using for about the last 10 years or so. And yeah, we just wanted to solve the problem of just making our job easier. Um, and we'll also talk about today on how we think this will help the entire software or the entire regulatory consulting service out there to improve their process as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answered your question, Sean.
I think so. Tell us a little bit about the journey and discoveries, things that you've learned along the way over the past 10 years.
Oh man, that's quite a. I learned a lot of things the hard way, and the hard way being doing it, failing, or getting a bunch of FDA comments back, or things taking an obscene long amount of time in order to do. And a lot of these things, while not completely related to just the documentation exercise, some of these are due to the culture of the companies and kind of helping to build that out as well. But documentation just can take the life out of you. Having to go through and edit Word documents by hand, that's not really something that I signed up for, and probably not something that the people on this call really get up in the morning to do. What I get up in the morning to do is to help patients and also to help these life-saving devices get on the market. And that's really what I think all of us are here to do. Not edit documents and not create word soup in order for us to look at later. So yeah, I don't
That's
know if that
great.
answers, John.
So now, why does all this, your journey, all this, what you've done over the last 10 years, tell me why this matters to the consultants on the call today. What are they going to take away from today, and what opportunity is in it for them?
Sure, sure. Yeah, and the point of this call is not necessarily just to show you guys our process. This is just one way of doing it. Now, obviously, I'm a little bit biased. This is a process that we use, so I do think it is pretty good. However, it's also more of a philosophy that I think could be applied to pretty much any process, and it's heavily driven from my experience as a software engineer in the past, and also present, although I'm not trusted to write any production code anymore, just kind of random demos and like trinkets and stuff. But yeah, I think that'll be the main takeaway from this is to see how we're doing it as a company, but also the philosophy about how separating your data model from your presentation can really help you and can really 10x the speed that you can bring your clients 510Ks to FDA submission and ultimately to bring these life-saving devices to market faster.
So what we're going to see today is we're going to get a live product demo, which is pretty amazing, but takes some time because it's gonna be working in the background on a little project of its own. We're going to see the templates. We're going to preview the 510K template promised as free digital 510K template in the thing. And we're going to then preview the Medtech OS operating system, which they've developed. And we're going to learn about the partnership opportunities with analytics, the knowledge sharing community, and the thing that they're trying to build. And so what I'd like from all of you is to keep an open mind as you view this thing, and to look at it in terms of how this could help you um, achieve the results in your practice, in your consulting or innovation, that you're unable to um, achieve on your own currently because of the non-digital nature of the process. And before we do that, I want to ask one um, uh, poll question, which, if I can launch it, is going to be around AI. And just to get a sense of where our audience is with relationship to AI and their um, sentiment towards it, feel free to write curse words in the chat if you feel strongly about it, or any other comments that will make us laugh. We'd appreciate it. And but it looks like the majority of the people are um, somewhat familiar to very familiar with it. I'll share the results here. Are you
Okay,
able to see the results?
I
Yep.
can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the results are 15% use it all the time, 50% somewhat familiar, 26% I know about it, but I don't use it, and 9% not familiar at all. So with that said, I'm gonna stop sharing the results, I think. Did they go away? Yes, hopefully.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Show us what you got, and I'll.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you see my mouse cursor?
Yep.
Just a quick. All right, cool. Well, yeah, so this talk is about how to 10x your 510K prep efficiency with Medtech OS software, and a special aside on some kind of AI stuff at the very end. And this presentation is geared for RA and also quality professionals. So a bit about me and why perhaps you should give me some of your attention, which thank you, by the way. Yeah, so yes, my name is John Shrestha. I'm CEO and partner of Analytics. I've been in the industry for about 12 years, and here are some of the clients that have had the pleasure or the discomfort of having to deal with me. I've done about 50 or so software projects in both the software development capacity and also helping clients get past FDA as well. And yeah, I've really enjoyed the ride through there. And I'm also joined by my team. You know, this is an incredible team. I'm always the dumbest person in the room, which is great because that's when I have the best thing to learn. And on our team, we have about 18 folks on the team. We have a lot of software engineers in the team. That's how we got our start. So we were a software engineering company. We helped our clients build software as a medical device and also software in a medical device. And we also saw the need to help our clients get past FDA. And now, what this talk is about, we want to share that with the rest of the community to create more devices for the market to better pursue our company vision and also my personal vision too of why I wanted to do this. I originally went to med school, but I went to med school to help patients, and this is how I do it. So let's just jump right in. You know, what's the pain? Word documents suck. I hate Microsoft Word. I and I'm sorry if I said something to potentially offend anybody. I kind of think that a lot of people on this team are also not fans of editing Word documents. Right? I mean, just kind of think about some actions that you need to take. Um, and by the way, this is my son. He also sucks, but in a much better way. um, like, how long does it take for you to write a new requirement? You know, how long does it take to add a new risk control measure? What if you needed to take out a requirement? Or how about to update the intended use statement, which by the way always happens when you already prepped your e-star. That's when the intended use statement needs to change. And oh crap, you got to go back and you got to edit everything and probably edit that in millions of places, right? Or to like change the trade name of the device, you know, which can happen especially for devices that are currently under development. This can happen quite frequently. Word documents are are terrible. It used to take me, hours, sometimes hours to do the above things. But now with our set of tools or templates and tools, it can take me less than a minute to do these items. And I'll go into some of the reasons how it can do that a little bit later. Also, manual traceability sucks. Um, Most people can only hold four things in their short-term working memory. I think I can only hold one thing in like short-term memory. Like I could barely remember my wife's phone number. And I don't understand why a lot of the regulatory software out there expects me to remember just requirement IDs, right? Like what does requirement 23 mean? It means absolutely nothing to me, right? But unfortunately, if you're doing traceability by hand, um, and by hand, what I mean is if you're editing Word documents directly or editing spreadsheets directly, and you need to edit in multiple places to update one traceability item, that's what I'm considering by hand. But doing it by hand is a very painful process and not something I particularly signed up for when I started doing this, right? So I used to struggle with traceability. Generating a traceability report was one of the banes of my existence. Like it took a long time to do, and it wasn't really a satisfying type of job because you're just reslicing and dicing things that were already there. And it took me almost a week usually to put together that trace report. Now we can do it in less than 5 minutes. Also, silos suck. All types of silos suck. Knowledge silos suck. Tooling silos suck. Um, Regulatory team uses one set of tools, and the software engineering teams are can be allergic to those tools, and vice versa. And then yet you have the QA team that uses some testing tool. Um, and these silos exist with very little knowledge flow between them until you have to submit a 510K tomorrow, right? That's when you uncover that the left hand is not talking to the right hand. Um, so those are tooling silos, but then there's also knowledge silos where the software engineering team, especially with the earlier stage clients that I deal with a lot, they have little experience with regulatory. This might be their first project to do. And also uh, the the software regulatory consultant that they're working with may not have a software engineering background to really bridge that gap, right? Guidance documents are too abstract and they leave too much room for interpretation. So I'm sure you guys have all been there where you give your client a guidance document to fulfill. Cybersecurity is a painful one that kind of comes to mind. And the guidance docs written in a way that are abstract, and they're meant to be abstract so they can apply to as many situations as possible and be somewhat timeless. Like we still have guidance documents that are valid today that were written back in the 90s, right? I think that's just an incredible thing, that's indicative of a well-written guidance document. However, the flip side of that is it's difficult for teams to take that and apply it to their device. This is where templates come in, by the way. Like the templates that we've developed have crystallized and rendered down um, these concepts to something that's a lot more concrete. And also, you'll see later with the addition of AI, that allows you to present to your clients an example that's custom tailored to their product, rather than abstract guidance documents and for them to wade through. And you don't even get me started on standards documents like 62304, 14971. Uh, those are speaking a different language for most folks who haven't seen that before. So it used to take us 8 weeks to do a full release. That includes doing V and V and then writing the note to file or not to file determination. But now with our tooling, uh, we can do it in about a week. So the shifting sands suck. It's definitely painful whenever something changes that's out of your control, but it happens a lot, and especially recently, it's happening a lot more than it used to. Uh, FDA changes eStar quite frequently. I believe we're up to version 5 now, or although probably if I check, might be version 6 now. I'm not sure. But it's especially painful when it happens midstream of a project. So if you've already aligned your documentation to fit a certain pre-star format or certain eStar format, and then it changes, well, the typical course of action is you got to go through and edit all those documents, right, in order to make it harmonize with what's required by the eStar. FDA frequently changes cybersecurity requirements. And we've been in this situation before where FDA decided that it'd be better to submit safety base risks and security risks in two different tables. And actually, where this came from was in an FDA hold letter for one of our previous clients. So that prompted us to to look at the E-star, and then we have to change our templates to match that. Thankfully, with the process that I'm about to show you, that didn't require us to go through and change our underlying data model, which represented the safety and security risks. It just required us to change the code that exported that and compiled it out into what FDA expects. So, I used to lose sleep over it, and have to sometimes cancel weekend plans or Friday nights and stuff because, like, now we have all this work that we didn't know we had, and legitimately we had no control over, right? But now I'm confident that my team would be able to deliver on changes in the outside world without having to go back and rework a lot of stuff. So also, documentation inconsistency sucks. Um, you may you may be sending documents around on email, which I have done before, and wasted a lot of time with different versions of these documents floating around. Like, you never know which one, guess who's who. It's and it can result in people doing conflicts, right? Like, you have one document that's changed by two people, and it doesn't matter how many times you've checked it. There's always some inconsistency somewhere that gets by you, and FDA finds it, and it's not really a good look. It tells FDA that, hey, potentially this company, this sponsor, um, left hand doesn't quite speak to the right hand, right? So that's not a good look to have. We used to use Google Docs to ensure consistency on one document. Now, that works because in a Google Doc and other tools like it, multiple people can edit the same document at once, so you're not going to have inconsistency issues. However, how about in between documents, right? Like, especially if you're using manual traceability, if you're editing your software requirements spec and then you're editing your risk management file, and there is shared knowledge, right, between the two. Potentially, there's a risk ID that's shared between the risk control measure column and your software risk or your software requirements spec. Google Docs on its own and tools like it can't handle that kind of inconsistency, which is arguably much more difficult to catch, right? That involves looking at all the documents as a whole and trying to find inconsistencies. So, and with our tool, because of the central data model, which I'll talk about later, this is almost like safety by design. Right? These kind of inconsistencies just can't happen, or at least they're extremely less likely to happen in certain cases. But for the case that I've mentioned, because of the way it's structured, it's just impossible for it to happen. So combine all the pain, right? Your job ends up being just 5% problem solving, and the rest just busy work, right? And it's not satisfying. It leads to burnout, and you can get bored quite quickly. I mean, this what my son had to say about it. And the root cause of all this is duplication sucks. Unless it's cupcakes, in that case it's great. But usually duplication sucks, right? If I had to change this slide to make it unsuck, I'd have to change it in a lot of places, right? Taking one step aside, so I just like to make software engineering kind of parallels because I come from a software engineering background. But there's this concept that uh, that you learn pretty quickly in your software dev journey. This concept of DRY, which stands for do not repeat yourself. And in generally, the do not repeat yourself principle is the idea that knowledge should be centralized. So knowledge could be a term. It could also be a behavior of a software system. It should be centralized such that if you want to change that behavior or data, that you only have to change it in one spot. And the reason why this is existentially important for software engineers in modern software development is because software systems are so complex that no one software engineer can hold everything in their head. Um, and so the world as we know it would melt down if the software systems we relied on did not follow this principle. Like if you change one piece of code and your toilet flushes instead, or like that there's no centralization there, that causes large systems like this to break when you have perhaps like a new member on the team coming and making a code change, and they didn't know that this also affects this other area. There's this other place they have to change. That's what causes you into trouble. And there's also a concept of technical debt, which are headwinds caused by taking shortcuts in the past, such as not following the drive principle, that results in difficulty in the future to make changes. And in this fast-moving world that we live in today, both of these concepts can get software dev teams in trouble, and I think they also apply well to also regulatory consulting too. At least that's what I saw when I first got into the field. That hey, there are these principles that are not being followed. Therefore, this is the root cause of all of these pain points that I had talked about before. I think the root cause of it is that they're not following the do not repeat yourself principle. And the reason is that we weren't separating the data from the presentation of that data. So Word documents, spreadsheets, these are not the ideal place to store the data model. The reason is, again, this goes back to the duplication concept. If you wanted to edit a piece of knowledge via Word documents and spreadsheets, you got to edit in multiple places. So there is a data model present there, but it's more implicit. What would be better is if you can edit that data model directly and then compile or export those final presentation documents in a way. So in the past, this is how I used to do a lot of my work, right? So if I needed to add a risk control measure, right, I would have to potentially change lots of Word documents, do them manually. And I've seen this process take over a day. And it's also prone to error, and it increases friction to changes in the future. And it leads to lost weekends and Friday nights that didn't go as planned. And I've seen this snowball and compound on itself where it's taken some of my clients a year or multiple years to prepare a 510K submission. And I think root cause comes down to this, and it's not something that you notice every day, but if you add it up, it definitely adds up to a lot. So currently what we do is rather than manually make those changes to the presentation layer, which is on the far right here, we instead make the changes to a data model, which then gets compiled automatically to the presentation layer. So what that allows us to do is to be flexible and be agile to changes in the presentation layer. So like I'd mentioned before, that one case about the FDA asking to split the safety and the security trace tables. All we had to do in that case was just add another export command, and that export was was a filtered view into that data model, and so that allowed us to export the data in an agile way while maintaining that data model. And and also that data model is easy for people to edit. It's easy for people to comprehend and understand. And so it's also easier to write from that data model. Not only is it easier to read, but also writing as well. So with this, like it takes the team less than a minute to add a risk control measure. So this can be something that we can do during a call with the client rather than having to take it offline and do it there. We can just do it right then and there, and we can do all of the steps, all of the actions necessary. So adding the RCM, linking it to requirements, and so forth. takes about a minute, and we don't have to worry about editing Word documents. So with this, our current process, we can turn around a 510(k) application um, with a client that has no prior experience in anything related to software medical devices, and no prior documentation experience. We can turn that around in about 8 to 12 weeks. We also draft documents for them, but I think it's all made possible because of the system we have here, where we're editing the centralized data model in one spot. And we'd love to share how we do that so that you guys can potentially, not only help us improve, but also hopefully this could help your practice as well.
Can
So,
you show us the demo? Can we see the you're gonna
oh yeah, it's definitely coming. Sorry.
okay, okay. I'm just getting, yeah, go
Nancy,
on.
it's coming. Um, so, why did we do this? Well, simply like I just wanted more time to spend time with family and, you know, um, just kind of get back nights and weekends so we can work to live instead of live to work, right? That's like fundamentally why we want to do this. And we want to make a bigger difference in the world, decreasing the barrier to entry to new software devices. Um, and also increase that this will also increase the number of devices on the market. That would increase the pie for everybody. We wanted to scale up our operations. So as I said before, like if it took the team a year or more to prep a 510(k), that would significantly limit the impact we could make. And also busy work. As a software engineer, I'm always looking out for ways to try to automate things and to remove as much busy work as possible. Uh, and our templates, we got tired of giving the same advice over and over again. Like there was a lot of common places that people got stuck, and by fine tuning the process, we can ensure that future clients won't get stuck in that same spot without having to teach them how to become consultants as well. Also, and this is related to helping throughput, but we got tired of the onboarding process for our clients, like when we used to have Google Docs and stuff and other and project management tools related in different tooling. Now it's as simple as just duplicating a template in our tool, and that sets up the entire project. And that process takes 2 minutes when it used to take a couple of hours to do before. So in summary, we wanted to make a set of templates, tools, and process to to create a medical device startup in a box. That's the ultimate goal here. Um, we're currently most built out on the pre-market side, so getting our clients past FDA for the first time. However, we also use this for our end-to-end software development projects. So it's also used for our software development, done so in a fully compliant way. And eventually, this is going to be everything that a medical device startup needs in one tool. It could also include things like a CRM. It could include things like a project management tool. All of it's going to be in one box. So, why do I think that the analytics team is well suited to solve this problem? So, unlike other uh, softwares that I've seen out there, we use Medtech OS daily. Like the genesis of Medtech OS came from internal pain points that we use on a daily basis. So if Medtech OS goes down, we're also going down. Um, and we also have the engineering know-how in order to solve our own problems and in order to improve the underlying software. But we also have in-house FDA regulatory consultant experts that also improve our templates and our tooling every day as well. Sharing knowledge is also within our mission statement and is within our DNA. We are set up to share knowledge. If you just go on our website and see, I hope you guys like the content there. But and yeah, these are reasons why I think analytics is well suited to not only solve this problem for analytics, but also work with the community at large to solve this problem once and for all for everybody. So you might be asking, what's in it for us? That's a great question. Um, so our mission is to accelerate progress in medical devices by providing quality service to our clients, creating tools, and sharing knowledge with the ultimate purpose of improving patient health. So this mission, this effort is in line with that mission statement. As I've mentioned before, I really believe that this would lower the barrier to entry for founders of medical devices, startups that wouldn't have made a device before because they thought it was too hard, and now they can. More devices means more devices out in the clinic where they belong, and also more clients for everybody. So some of the reasons, that we want to build a community, um, regulatory consulting can be quite lonely, right? Like and it doesn't have to be. It can be a quite lonely experience where you're giving a lot of advice that sometimes may not want to be heard, and also advice that could cost your clients millions of dollars if you get wrong. A lot of people think, or for whatever reason, this can become a lone wolf type exercise, but it doesn't need to be, right? And I think by cooperating, um, and actually this is an interesting aside in game theory, but without going into too much details, when the rules of the game is not a zero sum game, then almost always the strategy that cooperates with others ends up gaining a foothold and ends up taking over all the other strategies. So cooperation results in more wealth, more money for everybody. And like, what's the point of keeping that FDA hold letter to yourself when you could share it to somebody else and speed them up by 6 months or more, and in turn they'll speed you up in the next one by 6 months or more, right? And that's I think where as an industry we should be headed toward, rather than trying to shoulder all the burden ourselves. So we're making tools and templates that, like, this kind of ask that we have of the audience here today is, if anyone um, has felt the pain that I showed before, and if anyone is motivated by what you see on this slide and what you see before, then we'd love to hear from you and build out this vision together. We're also offering a rev share to consultants to share the wealth. I really think that this would increase the pie for everybody, and we'd love to share that with you. And also, I think that the more mileage that these templates get from FDA feedback, the better. It's the exact opposite of a car. I think the more times FDA sees this, the more mileage it gets, the better it will become for everybody. And also, finally, I've talked about this a lot, but lowering that barrier to entry for new startups coming on the field. So yeah, please reach out to me. I think we'll also put my contact information here. But if any of this worked for you, if any of this chimes with you, part of your vision as well, then please let me know. So what's in it for you, right? I really think that at least this has been the case for us. Like, using tools like this and using this kind of philosophy has 10x'd our time to getting an FDA clearance out of the market. It has also reduced the cost for us internally to get that as well, because of the added efficiencies, because of the extra software automation tooling. And I believe that would be the same case for you. Also, we want to build out a network of partner firms and also partner consultants that use our tooling and use our templates. Again, this goes into the network effects I talked about earlier. That this tribe of our network. We have a lot of work that comes to us. Most of the time, we're maximally booked, And we would like to share those clients with people in our network that use our tooling and that use our systems. And the benefit from you potentially is that you spend less time on marketing and sales and spend more time on actually doing what you love, right? Also, the tooling that we're gonna release will be done as a software as a service, and this will be a way for you to convert to for you to continue to add value to your clients even after the first project is done, right? Um, a lot of you might be facing the problem of feast or famine, right? Where you have too many projects at one time and then not enough projects in the other. This could be a way to smooth that out if you have ongoing revenue from previous projects using our tool, um, which will eventually become a full quality management system for clients, and that would lead to much longer term value add to them. And also the community and the network effects built on there. So in analytics and also the Medtech OS community that we're building will keep the templates up to date by frequent interaction with FDA, and also just by our daily research and everything that we do from FDA, that those templates will be kept up to date. So you don't necessarily need to worry about it as much. Like you still need to keep up to date with like the new PCCP guidance, for example. You should probably read that. But this is an added safety net to make sure that there's nothing that kind of gets past the cracks there. And also tooling, like we're constantly building tooling every day during our practice. Like we see opportunities to improve our efficiency by using tools like AI, and that will be part of the Medtech OS platform. So okay, so I've kind of talked about Medtech OS a lot. And just to summarize, what is it exactly? It's a set of templates and tools, SAMD in a box, templates that we've been using ourselves for over 10 years. It's a place to store this regulatory data model and the software and tools to export that data model into whatever format that's necessary by whatever agency that you need to support. We're focused on the US FDA. However, we don't see any reason why our tools and our philosophy can be used on any country or in anybody. So with that, let me get into just a quick demo about some things. Before that, I want to get into just this slide here, which talks about, so I showed you our past process and our current process. Let me give you a glimpse into what I think is going to be the future. Rather than manually making actions and saving and editing the data model by hand, which is what we're currently doing, and that's not a bad approach. It still saves a lot of time versus editing Word by hand. But in the future, I really think that we will be going through what are called AI agents. These agents are, think of them as AI, as members of your team, essentially, where you delegate tasks to them. They go out and they do their research. So they'll go to the FDA mod database or the 510K summary database, FDA guidance documents, standards, and they will compile a context in order to fulfill your request. So in this case, rather than coming up with all the risk control measures, perhaps you would go through an AI agent where you would ask it what your intention is. It would generate a set of actions. You can then approve or reject those actions. And then, this is why I think the data model is really important. Then those actions would be committed. They would be saved to that data model. And that data model, this is the central hub of the wheel, where these AI agents and actors can edit that data model, and then these Word documents can be exported and can be compiled from that data model. So on the right, that satisfies the needs of all the regulatory bodies. You can be agile in how you export these documents and what format you use. And on the left, the data model is the port of entry for all future innovations in especially the AI space, but who knows what's going to come next after that. I think something like this would be able to bring that FDA uh, uh, process down to 2 weeks. And as generative AI models continue to improve, that time will continue to go down. And this allows us to stay high level. That this allows us to stay on the creative regulatory creative problem solving plane rather than getting into the rote weeds of manual Word document vomit editing, right? So with that, let me share a quick demo of Medtech OS um, and a special demo that I've put together. I don't code much anymore, but I am still trusted to code little trinkets and demos, but not trusted to write uh, production code, which is actually good. But let me share this screen. Can you still see my screen? This should be a little bit bigger now. This
Yes,
is
yes.
cool. So what I'm about to share with you, on the left is Medtech OS, and on the right is a tool that I'm calling Medtech AI. And this AI tool takes a context, which can be anything, but I'm going to demo today a 510K summary of the esteemed Optelum Health device. So this is a well-known CADX, CADE type device um, that I'm going to be using for this example. So here I've just loaded that 510K summary into the memory of this AI agent. And I can ask it to now act on that. But since I'm feeling lucky today, I'm going to ask it to just do everything for me. All right. So now what it's going to do in the background is you'll notice on the left here, this data model of this device is currently empty. So we've got requirements, user needs, system items, risks, security risks, all the stuff that you're probably used to seeing already. And this database is the data model that I'm talking about before. So this captures all of the traceability artifacts and the linkages between them. And now this AI bot is going through and generating some requirements for us. It's also showing us or telling us the reason why it wanted to add this requirement and the source from where it's basing its choice from. It's also giving us it's very kind to give us a verification strategy example. And now what it's going to do is it's going to commit those actions that it just came up with into that data model. So you can see here that it's populating this this requirements data model with the requirements it just came up with. This takes several rounds for it to work. So you kind of think about this like you're delegating a task to a team member. You don't expect your team member to come back to you right away, or to be able to do that in just one thought, right? It's going to take time. It's kind of a similar thing here, where these agents take time to execute. While it's doing that, I'm just going to show you around about Medtech OS in general and kind of how all this fits together. So we have our data model. So with these requirements link out to user needs, verification protocols, which, by the way, this is also a test management tool as well. So the QA teams have run tests within our tool. Also links out to system items, risks, and other items there. And so editing this data model is very easy. Even actually while the AI is editing it, I can come through and link these together. So I don't have any user needs here yet, but it's going to add them. I can link them to verification tests. I can make edits. So if I'm not happy with what the AI or with one of my team members gave me, right, I can come here and edit this, right? And me just making that edit, if there was any references to this requirement, all of those references just got automatically updated, right? So if this requirement happened to be a risk control measure, then I don't have to go back to the risk management file and update this requirement. And God forbid, I don't have to remember the stupid requirement IDs, right? I can refer to this requirement by a nice human readable name. And the final thing that makes all this work is the compilation step that exports all of these and formats them in a way that is suitable for an FDA E-Star application. So I will show you what that looks like. Um, so let's search for the software requirement specification. Software requirement. And within here, we have developed our own programming language to be able to take that data model and format it in a way that we've personally found is easily digestible for FDA, although it doesn't need to be this way. Um, but just kind of a quick view into this code. You can actually use ChatGPT to write this code for you. So if you wanted to, add some more columns to the table, or you wanted to change the description or whatever, this can be easily modified. And then when I go up here to export this then pulls up our document exporting and compilation tool, which also has Parliament compliant e-signatures. It also has the ability to create document diffs and red lines between previous revisions. So this, I think, is where all the magic happens. And actually, our team doesn't even edit the exported Word documents. Like the Word documents, when they export, they're almost universally ready for FDA consumption, where the data model gets put into the Word documents, and then that will get exported out and attached to the eStar application. So really, it's this templating language that makes it all work. And we have templates for all of the eStar attachments that are done in a very similar way. And what the team actually does to do an eStar attachment is when we're ready to export, we can actually do a batch export of all of these documents at once. So it's not quite a one-click eStar, but it's getting pretty close to that. Let's see where our AI bot has got to right now. Is it still generating requirements? Yeah, I think it still is. But soon what you'll see is that once it finishes generating some requirements and it's satisfied with that, it'll then generate some of the user needs. I could have made it do it the opposite way, but just for the purposes of this demo, this is the way it works right now. But yeah, so like we also have the risk management plan and also risk assessment. Let me show you guys what that looks like. And the beauty of it is that with all of these exports, the data model can be changed in one spot. So like, for example, if you want to change the trade name of the device, we can change it to, Medtech OS kills duplication. And now that automatically got changed in all 56 references to this trade name, right? So if I go to like the device schematic, for example, that just got changed automatically. Now that would have been a long process for me to do. Probably going to do that over the weekend, right? Usually always this happens. But yeah, so let's see if it's got to the user needs yet. Oh yeah, it's got some user needs here. And it will also link the user needs to requirements. So once it gets through generating these user needs, it will then do its best guess to link the user needs to the requirements that it just wrote. Nice thing about doing it this way is it gives your client something concrete to go on. And also keep in mind all these requirements generated by AI, but you can edit the requirements and you can double check them and edit them in a very easy to use format. But clients tend to respond better when you have given them something concrete to start with. And I think at least currently usage of AI, it's not going to be a fully automated process where you can just give it all where you can input code and you can output a DHF out the other end. It's not quite there yet. And it probably won't be there for several years, I think. But where AI really shines is being able to delegate some high level tasks to the AI to be able to then execute in kind of a manner that I'm showing here. So after it gets done with the user needs, it will then attempt to link them. And also, if I'm not happy with anything in particular, say that like I just did a threat model and I want to add more security related requirements to a particular type of threat, I can just tell it here what to do. Say, hey, like I want you to add 5 requirements related to this type of threat. Here's the themes that you should use, and I'll also upload the FDA cybersecurity guidance document to give it even more context. And these are the kind of operations that used to be manual that I think will soon be augmented by AI. That's the future that I think we're headed to. And I'd love for you guys to help us get to that future and to help us build it along the way, and also to that would, I really think, help a lot of patients in the end. I think that's what it's all about. So yeah. Anyway, it's kind of all I've got. I guess let's see if
So
our AI.
for
Oh
them
yeah,
to
it's
get the
no,
510K template, can they put their email in the chat
yeah,
and send it to us and we'll get a hold of them, or you'll get a hold of them? I won't. And
yeah.
um so the 510K template is free as advertised. And you can tell them what that does. I don't.
Yeah, it's basically access to this whole system. Um, you could, in theory, get access to this system, run your clients through our phase checklists, which these are kind of the order of operations that we have found that works the best to populate that data model. And this is what we use to actually run our projects. And so you can use this for your clients. The only thing that we ask is that the 510K summary for the device that eventually gets cleared, like we want to have some kind of attribution back to our website that said that it was done using this. For our early adopters on this, we also have a free tier where the tool is free until the first FDA clearance for that client, and then after that, it's gonna move on to a paid tier for ongoing use. And we like we don't believe in vendor lock-in. Like I think clients should be free to use whatever tool they want. But I do think in this case it is genuinely of value to them. It's even more valuable with ongoing changes because of how centralized the data is. That I really feel that it would be a disservice if the clients didn't use this tool ongoing for future releases, even for future products as well. Uh, like creating a new product is actually just as easy as duplicating a prior DHF, and that will duplicate all the process, all the templates, all the linkages, relations, everything. Um, so like we've even seen some of our clients have libraries of different types of classes of products, especially for like AI. Lots of AI clients have a lot of serial products where they release one after another and they're very similar, and that you can just duplicate that DHF and that would contain everything that was there before. Um, let's check in on our AI agent here. Yeah, he's going through and populating some of these linkages. He needs some time though, so maybe a couple more minutes and you'll have these all done. But yeah,
There were a couple questions.
sure.
Um, uh, this may be proprietary, but what was your model trained and validated on previous 510Ks you have developed or something else?
No, so it actually has isn't been trained on anything. This is using off-the-shelf tools. Some of our prompts are going to be proprietary. Those don't use any client-facing data. We have gone through the pains of creating examples and prompts for the AI. And so yeah, like it's also a like the proprietary part of this would be the back end process of how the prompts get strung together and how many prompts we use and exactly what the prompts say. Um, and really, that process is replicating our cognitive process, but it's just broken down to a way that the AI can handle it.
Mm.
I don't know if that answers your.
Yeah. Next question. You have different price offerings. Is it possible to start with the free option? Then, when having the green light approved product, we could move to a paying version. Second question, do you include a CAPA change control tool? Thank you.
Yes. So the answer to the first question is yes. So for a limited time, like we're looking for early adopters, and we don't want to make this too widely available just because there are some kinks to iron out, and we don't want to get in a place where we've kind of overextended ourselves. So that is this tool has a free tier that can be used until you get FDA clearance. We hope you like it. We hope you continue to use it. And the second one is there a CAPA change process? This is this tool. The templates in the tool are mostly geared to pre-market right now. Although we are working on quality management templates, and we're working on some of our partners to really bring this forward to create the templates in a way that matches with the Medtech OS philosophy, and also to help manage our clients' quality management systems in the future. So while there is a CAPA database right now, it hasn't gone through ISO cert process, but the overall philosophy is still the same. Like you've got a central data model, you've got both your quality system in it, you've got your DHF in it, you've got linkages between everything, and you've got the mechanism to export these documents, compile them into the final presentation. So for the case of the quality system side, the document exports will be tuned to be audit ready. So as you probably know, the documents that are audit ready are not necessarily easy to edit. Like perhaps you want to have more descriptions in the editing copy, like you want to have comments and more guidance there, but in your audit copy, you want those removed. You want those commented out. Um, the Medtech OS tooling will allow you to do that. And it's very flexible. Like there's nothing about uh, the tool that enforces these databases and the data model to be set up in any particular way. Um, so like I could certainly see if you use the tool, you could customize it to your own style if you like. And you could still make use of the AI, and you can still make use of the document exporting functions of the tool. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. Hope that did. Um,
So one comment, can we be part of develop it more for next phase? We would love to take part in development for new markets and more integration of requirements. I assume the answer is yes. That part of today's call was about seeking partnerships, was about developing relationships with experienced consultants in the industry,
yeah,
and developing a network of users of this platform. I encourage you to connect with him. I put you can find him on LinkedIn, connect with him on LinkedIn. His email address is in the chat. It is uh, yshrestha@inalytics.com. And, if you're not sure, talk to him. He's a nice guy, as you can tell. Um,
thanks.
and we should wrap up. There's going to be a one question survey that's going to follow this, so please complete that to give us your feedback. Really loved having everybody here. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Shrestha, and everyone who gave up an hour to come and be with us. Um, thank you,
Thank you.
and everyone have a good day.